culture takes a lot of effort, and it takes some knowledge as well to be able to know which efforts are going to reap rewards and which ones are kind of a waste of time. And I think in the past, this came so much more automatically, but now we have to kind of have a game plan of how we're going to create a family culture that's going to give our children a nice platform to leap off from and become amazing individuals in the future. So I have another video that is all about why we need family culture and why we need to attach to our children and why that is important. In a nutshell, family culture really creates the identity and the sense of security that children need in order to really become who they need to become and do what they need to do in this life. And because it doesn't come automatically, we need to have a game plan of how we're going to run our lives to be able to accomplish this great goal that we're trying to have a wonderful family culture that they can always lean on in every single situation. But here's the thing, it really can't be just a checklist, a to-do list. You do have to understand what the point is and why we're trying to do it. And maybe you already understand this. Maybe you feel like it's kind of silly and why I even have to wonder about what the purpose is. Of course I understand the purpose. That's awesome. But for me, I really had to dive into why isn't this natural? Why isn't it happening on its own? And how do I make decisions about parenting when I don't even know what the rules are? How often do you get to play with friends? I don't know. How do you even decide that? I guess when I feel like letting you. And it's very hard to parent when you don't have this structure in place. So today I just want to talk about the basic structure of the things that you actually do to create the family culture. But if you don't know what family culture is or what the point is or why you should even want family culture, go watch that other video and hopefully that will make this one make a lot more sense. So we do things in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, and then daily and weekly. Those are kind of the different categories of places where I do things on purpose to make sure that our family culture is taking place and being nurtured. And it's constantly changing. I haven't got it all figured out, and I'm constantly learning new things, and I hope that I can give credit to everybody who has really inspired me on this journey, because it's not something that I'm figuring out on my own, and it's not something that I've got all wrapped up. But I have found things that do work and that are really effective long term, and I wanted to share those with you. So starting off in our morning, we learned something from Revolutionary Families, and they taught about doing story time. And story time is basically when you sit together as a family and you tell stories about your personal history. This has been really eye-opening for me. My husband has stories of growing up of finding dead bodies and saving people's lives and locating bombs. And I mean, he just has like high adventure stories all the time. And my stories are really mild. They're really very calm stories that nothing massive happened. No authorities had to be called. It was just something that I did. I had this conversation with this person and it seemed kind of meaningful. So our stories are very different. And yet together we make up the parents of these kids, that they see this is kind of where we're coming from. And story time really helps create that identity of not only what my husband and I have done before we met and when our kids were young, but also it gives them an idea of what they were like when they were very young, that we will tell stories of them when they don't really remember those stories. And now after we've been doing it for a while, it has become a part of their identity that they say, hey, I remember a time when I did this. Well, they don't remember that time because they were too little to remember, but they did do it. I told the story. Now it's a part of their personal knowledge of who they are, and they're able to hold on to that as their sense of identity. We also don't limit it to just our family. You know, we'll tell stories of our ancestors, and we'll tell stories of people who are really important to us that I consider as heroes. Joan of Arc and William Wilberforce and a lot of different people that lived through time and did really hard, courageous things, and also just glorious things, that they wrote these wonderful stories. They weren't under any pressure. They didn't have to do this or die, but they did create a wonderful story, and don't we just love what they've created? So I want to hold all of these people up for my kids to look at and say, wow, there's so much possibility. There's obviously so much inside of who they are through being our kids and being themselves, but there's also a lot of potential based on how many great people have come before them and really prepared the way for them to be amazing. We also do a lot of ritual things like reading our scriptures together, saying our prayers together. Sometimes we eat together. This is something that I have struggled with over time. Sometimes we're really good at eating meals together. Sometimes we are not. And it's just something that's, you win some, you lose some. We also have a cheer that's like our family identity. After every single prayer, we will say that cheer together. And every year we have a theme as a family. So in our opener in school, we will repeat that theme. And then we'll say, how are we doing on that theme today? How are we experiencing improvement in that area? You know, right now our theme is based around service. So we'll say, who have you served? How are we working on service right now? And so it's constantly trying to grow as a family and also trying to maintain the identity of who we are as a family. Family culture does not happen automatically, but these are the things that really hold on to it. We only do one thing in the afternoon for our family culture, and that is the family read. And I do read to my kids for an hour every single day, on probably way more than that. But when it comes to just a novel that I'm reading to them, I read for an hour a day, and that has become a part of our family culture. And I didn't even really think that this was, you know, family culture until I was discussing this with my sister, and she and I were talking about how we got that from our mom and she got that from her mom, that this is something that's really been passed down through the generations, that you read to your kids and not just boring, you know, you read with the different voices. And I know not everybody reads with voices. You don't have to. I'm not saying that's required, but it is a part of our family culture that we do read with different accents and with different voices. And it has become something that is an identifying part of who we are. This next bit that we do in the dinner time, I actually got from The Entitlement Trap, written by the Ayers, I think is how you say their last name. I'll link that. And they talk about the different things that you can do to really connect with your kids over the dinner table. And we have a bunch of different games that we will play at dinner. Now, I'm going to say dinner time is harder for me because I'm tired and it's been a long day, and I generally am having a harder time putting forth emotional energy. But my kids love it. They love the dinner games. They're constantly, you know, as soon as we're sitting down, as soon as we've got the food on the table, the question is, what game are we playing tonight? So they kind of drive it, which is really helpful to me that I don't have to be the instigator of this. So some of the games that we play, we took right out of that book, and they are the Family Fiction Minute. So you've got 1 minute to tell a fictional story. Another thing is you do sweet and sour, which means you tell what was really sweet about your day, your high point, your wonderful sweet thing, and what was sour about your day. So you have a moment to just share what's going on in your day. We do one of these every night, just one. We also do word link. I don't know why my kids love this so much, but it's really funny. You will start by just saying a word, any word, like say flag. And then the next person says a word that is related in some way to flag, but you want it to be related as far as possible. So maybe they would say something like stars, and the next person would say Galileo. Now, Galileo and flag are really not related to each other. And we work our way all the way around the table, everybody connecting to the last word until you get to the last person, and they have to connect their word with the person before them and the person who started it. And we've seen some real creativity in their ability to find that connection, and the kids love that one. They really love being able to come up with links that are really far and then being able to creatively find that link that pulls it all together again. We do a knowledge jump. We will set the timer for 1 minute, and I will give them a subject and say, tell me everything that you know about this subject. And usually I will choose a subject that I know they know a lot about, especially with my little kids. I'm going to choose something that they do know. They have plenty of stuff that they can talk about. I'm not trying to trick them. I'm not trying to make it so that they fail and they're not being graded. This is their moment to get up and kind of brag on how much they know about stuff. And so they have 1 minute to share everything they know about unicorns, or about, you know, I've got a kid who really loves computers, so I'm like, tell me everything you know about C++, and I don't know what he's talking about, but he really goes after it. He tells me everything he knows about that. And it just gives them an opportunity to be the center of attention for a minute and also formulate their ideas in a way that is very intelligent and also good communication skills. So I mentioned this in my How to Teach Your Kids How to Write video. This is super powerful, that you give them an opportunity to form their words and their ideas in such a way that is really understandable to the people who are listening. And this helps them to be able to write better as well. So lots of benefits there. And we're constantly adding and changing the games, but as of right now, the last one that we do is they have to ask a question that they think nobody can come up with the answer for. So they get to pick whatever subject they have and just come up with a question that's so complicated or deep or something like that that nobody can come up with the solution for it, and nobody can look up on their phone during the time either. They have to wait until the whole dinner's over before we can go look up those answers. So that's it for our dinner time family culture stuff that we do. Every day we have something called gathering that I will do with my kids. I don't know that they're aware that I do this, but in the morning I will take the time to just individually look at each of them and talk to them about their night, how they slept, what they dreamed, and generally I will have some sort of a loving thing that I will say to them. I'm so glad you're in our family. I'm so glad that you're here today. You're such a sweet kid. I love you. Something like that to nurture that relationship first thing in the morning. And then also when they come home from being gone anywhere, I stop what I'm doing and take a minute to check in with them and let them sort of report where they've been and what they've been doing to create that connection in our relationship. It's not long, and in a lot of ways I'd say it's not even that important, except it does just constantly nourish that relationship. So one of the benefits or main goals of having family culture is that we're not just trying to work through a checklist or accomplish things or just, get things done. Did you make your bed? And now we've got to eat breakfast and clean that up so we can get in the car and run you to soccer practice or whatever. Life can kind of become just one big long checklist. When you're working on family culture, what you're doing is trying to create plenty of space and experiences where the relationship is the goal. We're not trying to win anything or achieve anything. We're just trying to nourish that relationship. And ironically, I actually have a system in place that will make sure that we have kind of unadulterated time where we're not trying to accomplish anything specific. We're just trying to have time for each other. And that is our alone time. I do have a specific video on that, but in a nutshell, all it is every week I spend some time one-on-one with each kid, and they just have time to do whatever they want with me. We play games, we talk, we read a story together, whatever they want to do. That's just the time where we're not trying to meet a goal. We're not trying to check anything off a list. We are just trying to take time for each other and make sure that our relationship is okay. And so I gotta say, of all the things that I've done as a parent, that is one that makes it really high on the list, that I feel like that is a really effective way to be a mom. That's really, really important. Of all the things I've tried, that one is super duper important. We also have a family meeting on Sundays is when we do this, and our family meeting is like the worst experience ever. It's getting better now that we're using Google Calendars, but essentially everybody has to come and we have to just organize ourselves and our time and our resources, meaning our cars, and figure out how to get everybody where they need to be at the right time and make sure that nobody's going to get left somewhere because oops, both of our cars are gone. So this is something that I did all the time growing up, this organizational structure, because you really have to when you have a big family, or if you have a small family with a lot of stuff going on. Either way, you have to have a plan for how you're going to make sure that all of the boxes do get checked, all of the kids do get picked up. This is important. And it also gives you a chance to put things on the calendar to say, hey, I want to go on a date with such and so. And that is, yes, it's a to-do. We got to make sure that happens, but it's also a, oh, hey, let me know how that date went. Let's see how things are going on that relationship part of it too. But the family meeting has to happen every week. If you don't do family meetings, you won't die, but it's going to be messy. It is much easier to take the time to lay everything out and make sure everybody understands where everybody's going to be, so we just have less hiccups. And when my kids were very young, we did really, really well at doing family fun, where we would spend one day a week, usually Saturday, and go out and do something generally free and pretty easy almost all the time, but it was something that they could count on that we were going to do. Again, the point was just the relationship. The point was not to try to get anything specific done other than spend time doing things together that we really enjoyed, having fun together as a family. Now, we don't do as well at that anymore because we're getting older and it's a little bit hard to get everybody's schedules together. Now our field trips kind of take that same place of family fun, and they're a little bit more structured, but there's still things that we're going out and doing together as a family that really the main goal is just to do things as a family and have fun. We also go to church together every single week, so that's a weekly tradition. That's part of our family culture. And then we have some monthly and yearly things that we do. I'm sure you do too. Christmas, there are all these traditions around Christmas. There are traditions around pretty much every big holiday. People have their traditions. That is a part of the family culture. We used to have monthly things that we do every single month. Each month had its own special thing that we would accomplish that month. But it turns out that all of those were geographically locked in for me. So I would do, we're going to go up this canyon in this, this particular month because the leaves are all turning and it's so pretty, and we don't live by that canyon anymore, so we can't do that. And a lot of them were like that. But whether you have them as traditions or not, being sure that you have something to look forward to and something that you're enjoying doing as a family is really important. And the whole point of all of this is to have an identity that everybody can lean on and rest in and know that they are important in this unit. They are an important part of things that really, really matter. And be able to spring from that into becoming their own individual self and becoming really amazing in their own right while maintaining that relationship with you. That's kind of the point of having a family culture. And so all of these efforts, like I implemented them a little bit at a time. I didn't take them on all at once. And they are constantly adapting, but they're very important because this is a part of the identity that they're going to forget some math facts. They're going to forget, they will probably even forget some of the things that you do together for fun, but they will remember the relationship. They will remember how much you love them and how much they feel loved from that experience. That is the kind of stuff that everything else we do, all of the cleaning, all of the cooking, all of the preparing, everything, it's all just set up for this, for having relationships that really, really matter and that enable us to really become our best selves. Being a mom really matters. These are the kind of things that make such a huge difference, and you are doing a much better job than you think you are. Keep it up, and I will see you on the next one.